friends. Dean here with Escape to Gaming. Today I want to do an interesting blog on what I feel is the condition of gaming today and the overall gaming mindset that many of us are, whether we like it or not, are frankly a part of inside the gaming community. We're living in a rich age of information because of this internet, which I'm just now, actually getting to know the last 4 or 5 years. I'm more into it than I ever have before. I'm just now, last 4 or 5 years, discovering YouTube and all these great game reviews and wonderful YouTube channels. Some of them are more, informative. Your IGNs and Inside Gaming on Machinima, Destructoid, Polygon. I love shows like Rev3 Games and many other podcasts that they'll have on Giant Bomb, what have you. I'm fascinated. I can sit an hour and go by like nothing, just watching people, talk, shooting the shit on games and talking about what they like about, the new news. They hear of something in the news and gaming news or a new game coming out, and they have the pros and cons of why they like it, why they think it should be Game of the Year or not, and all this. And I find it fascinating. And like I said, I like all the full gambit and spectrum of reviews, good, bad, little ones from a little independent channel on YouTube where guys are sitting on the edge of his bed reviewing a game. Another more professional ones, like IGN or what have you. I'm open-minded to I like to see everyone's take on it because it's fascinating. We've never lived in a day and age where you can have anything you want. I just got this PS1 and games, and I've been looking at to see what other PlayStation 1 games are going for. And the availability, via the internet is fantastic. Never before we had it so good. You can have everything. The old days, like even with restoring cars, before eBay and the internet, you had to get like a Hemmings Motor News at your newsstand at a bookstore, and you'd have to go through that. And there'd be some guy in Iowa that has old Ford Galaxy parts or whatever, and you'd send him a letter if you had a phone number. Sometimes there'd just be a PO box. You have to write the guy, or you'd have to call him. Hope for a call. If he had an answering machine, leave a message. Maybe he'd call you back. Maybe he wouldn't. And it just took you years to find rare parts. I'd have to comb. I literally, when I lived in Los Angeles, I'd drive all the way through the Central Valley and spend like on a 6-hour road trip hitting wrecking yards all throughout the Central Valley of California, where I knew where there were a lot of big wrecking yards, just on the hunt for rare parts. Where today, you sit comfortably with a soda at your computer and find everything you have, and it's delivered magically to your front door. I think, and this is one of my points I want to make, is that I honestly feel that we're jaded today because of the internet. That we're jaded because of all the availability. So not just with car stuff, but with games in particular. I can have everything that I want delivered to my front door. I don't even have to leave this desk. I can sit here like Jabba the Hutt, just packing my pie hole and pounding beers or sodas or whatever, and find all my favorite games, research everything, have it magically delivered. I got to get up and walk 20 feet to the front door the next day or in a few days and wait for it. It's amazing to me. I never lose the appreciation for how cool it is. And I've said this to many younger gamers, and I honestly don't think they get it because they're spoiled with it. They grew up with all this technology and the internet. They can't imagine a life, before cell phones. They can't imagine a life before, cable TV, when you only had 5 channels and only 3 of those came in good. We lived in much simpler times, but yet in many ways we seem to be a lot happier then. Even without the great video games and all the richness that we have that we just take for granted, let's face it. I think if we're honest with ourselves, many of us, and myself included, we take a lot of it for granted. I've never had it so good. But like I said in one of my recent rants, one of the reasons why I started my own show was to counter all the hate, negativity, and the jaded, reviews and the commentary on games is just, it's all over the map. You'll get a wide range of it. And I've had to endure. I'll watch some of them, and I like to see them all. Naturally, you want to know before you buy a game. You spend $60 on a game. You want to know if it's good. Now, this Lost Planet 3 came out. It looked interesting. I like things with aliens in them and alien worlds and all that. I had never played the other two because I'm so far behind the 8-ball with the Xbox 360 and the PlayStation 3. So I watched the first, I think, 3 or 4 reviews of this. It just came in very poor. Oh, it's terrible. Can't stack up to the last one, blah, blah, blah. And I go, that's a shame, because it really looks good to me. The graphics look really good. It looks like it would be my kind of game. And I waited. I said, I'm going to see if Mark from Classic Game Room is going to review this. Sure as hell he did. took him a couple of weeks, but he finally got it. Mark kind of goes at his own pace. He doesn't try to rush the reviews out immediately like a lot of the big game reviewers because they want to get all the hits or whatever. So I'm patient. I'll wait. I like to pre-order games when I can. If I know if it's a game I really want, I'll go ahead and pre-order it. Usually you get a bonus. They'll give you an extra level. I pre-ordered XCOM Declassified the Bureau because it gave you an extra level that you could actually play. And later I think that was DLC that you could download. So I kind of like that. I like the little bits of incentive. Whether you get like the game Wolfenstein in pre-order, so you get a flamethrower early on in the game, stuff like that. So I'm not opposed to pre-ordering it. And especially if it's a franchise I love, I don't even care whether the game is good or bad or what people think of it. I'm going to go ahead and get it anyway. I mean, when the game Rage came out, I was excited. I love id Software. They are my favorite game developer. I mean, I have a reverence for Doom or Apogee Software with, the original Duke Nukem 3D, which I love. In fact, I'm going to find that again. I actually have it installed in my Xbox 360 hard drive. Xbox Live Arcade. It's fantastic. I have the Manhattan Project. Some other ones also that are some old school Duke Nukem platformers are really cool. But I love, when I had heard, and I've been following Rage, when I first got on the internet, it was like, 2008 when I first got on it, and really started researching games and discovered all these wonderful game things. I was looking at screenshots early on in Rage. I said, man, I can't wait for this. This is going to be fantastic. I had seen they were, developing this id Tech 5 technology with these mega textures, and they can zoom in, and a little rock and a blade of grass in the ground. It's like worlds within worlds. I said, oh God, this is going to be insane. So I pre-ordered it immediately. I got this, Anarchy Edition, which you can get for the cost of a burrito today. It's like nothing. But when the game came out, it actually received relatively decent reviews overall. I'd say above average reviews. But a lot of people were like, oh, it's uninspiring. It doesn't innovate. It doesn't do anything new. And I actually irritated me because I love the game. And I dove into it and I explored it, every bit of side content. I'm still near the end of it. I've got 2/3 of the way through. I'm into the second, island or world or region or whatever. And I'm well, halfway into that. So I'm quite a ways through it. And then I also got some extra DLC, the sewer missions. I went through and actually did all of those. I'm really enjoying the side missions. And the racing, it's very innovative, the game. And people say, oh, games don't innovate anymore. I don't do anything. This thing, it brought in like some Twisted Metal car combat with an FPS game. Very cool. I take my hat off to id Software. And it was very, very discouraging to me, along with Raven Software, which is relocated to doing, maps for Call of Duty games. Now, Raven Software was awesome. And had done, along with id Software, had done some of the earlier Wolfenstein games like Return to Castle, or they did the 2009 Wolfenstein, and then id did the original Return to Castle, early 2000s. So I followed id, I followed Raven, many of my favorite developers, which were pioneers and giants, in my opinion, with gaming and FPS games. So I was irritated when I saw just the jaded reviews. And a couple of them I couldn't resist, and I left some challenging comments. They're always respectful and nice, but constructive. And I just said, well, it's a shame that you're incapable of seeing the fun of the game. I mean, you don't see how great the concept. He goes, oh, this game copies Borderlands. Look, I had Borderlands. I didn't care for it. It was a little cartoony for me. I see why people like it. It's very well done. I like the cel-shaded, design of it, style of it, but it just was kind of like an arcade game. It just, for whatever reason, didn't do it to me. And I was excited about that because I liked that Road Warrior concept, this, apocalyptic world thing. But frankly, Rage was first and was in development long before Borderlands by Gearbox. So, I mean, to me, I didn't see Rage copying. It just, it took them forever. I mean, they were perfectionists. They said the game will be done when it's done. Every year, 2008, 2009, 2010, oh, it'll be done when it's done. Oh my God, is it asking too much for it to come out already? So, this game just received horrible mixed reviews, and I felt that. Now, there was some very challenging problems with the game, especially for the PC version, or on the PC port of it. There was all kinds of issues with it. The textures weren't popping in right away. There was like a lot of the texture pop-in issues. I noticed very little of it. Actually, the Xbox 360 version is the most stable version. The PS3 version or port of it also has some it has some issues as well, especially with the texture pop and stuff. That's unfortunate. So I don't know that I would label it a bad game because, you know, there's in a fraction of a second the texture pops in. It doesn't take you out of the immersion. I've rarely noticed it. I noticed it in the very beginning of the game. There was one scene in particular. There was a lot of shit going on. And I actually noticed it like in one spot distinctively. But other than that, I haven't had an issue. The game is gorgeous. It's very well crafted. Fantastic, brilliant level design. I mean, honestly, I take my hat off to him for, you know, uniting two different genres into one. The multiplayer was kind of odd, though. It just had, you know, like a Twisted Metal type multiplayer versus, you know, the FPS. And there was a co-op missions, which I haven't tried, which I've heard are pretty cool. Goes through certain regions in the game, and it adds a little bit to the story. But it's just sad. So here's, you know, and so you can't be too surprised that his software is now gone. That, you know, that John Carmack has left. It's sad to me to see a giant. I would have loved to have seen a sequel to this. I would have loved to have seen more, you know, another Doom, which got, you know, put on the back burner, and that's probably, I think it's been canceled now. So, and I love Doom 3. I got that BFG edition, you know, it was in 2012, I think, or whatever, and it's fantastic. I couldn't believe what a wonderful port. Supposedly with the Oculus Rift, it's really intense. I guess they have, you know, Carmack was working on and they had a demo of that done with this Oculus Rift thing, and people really were just blown away. They said it was really intense. So it's sad, and a lot of it, and why do these studios do bad? A lot of it has to do with the reality of sales. I mean, if a car doesn't sell, they're obviously, it's going to be discontinued. You know, like the Ford Bronco was on its last legs. People weren't buying large two-door Chevy Blazers anymore, or Ford Broncos, although I had one. I love my old Bronco. But they really weren't buying them. So after the O.J. Simpson notorious chase, that put such an infamous chase with that white Bronco that everyone saw, that took a shovel to the Ford Bronco. And it was no surprise that Ford dumped that Bronco. That line was dropped after that. And I think that chase had a lot to do with it. It's just a personal observation. But so with games, it's the same thing. If a game gets a barrage of bad reviews, that obviously is going to affect the sales. And I see all these game reviewers. I mean, like a game that I saw recently, what was it? The Walking Dead Survival Instinct. Now, as a visual person, and I pointed this out, that I see everything. I notice the minutia of graphics and you know, all the jagged edges and sawtooth lines and stuff and what have you. And I noticed, you know, the little things like texture popping and especially screen tearing, stuff like that. This didn't have any screen tearing. It actually was very fluid, the way the camera and everything was. But it just had kind of stale, the graphics, the rendering, the rendered cars and the environment, some of the storefronts were a little on the bland side. I mean, it was almost between like a regular Xbox game and an Xbox 360, or like an early Xbox 360 graphics. Not the greatest, but it didn't take you out of the immersion. They kind of emulated or duplicated a lot of the same zombie types. You kept fighting a lot of the same zombies. There were a good variety of them, but not as many as there could be. I mean, after you fought the exact same zombie with the same plaid shirt on 12 times, it can take you out of the immersion. But does that make it a bad game? Does that mean that you can't be terrified and where you got to stop playing the game and you're going to have a coronary? No. This game is awesome. This was one of my favorite games of 2013. I love this game. I think actually the Escapist did, I think it was at Zero Punctuation, actually was reviewing one game and actually had some positive things to say about it. They're extremely critical. The game innovates. This game in many ways it had some fantastic concepts. It's a shame. And sadly, this Terminal Reality that did this, which I love, I had Roadkill for the PlayStation 2, one of my favorite PlayStation 2 games. And I have some gameplay of it, one of my gameplay videos. Is the same developer that did this. Well, now because of this failed and flopped so badly, another great studio is gone. Terminal Reality is now gone, which is a tragedy. Thanks, guys. Thanks for the barrage of negative reviews. You helped to take a shovel to that. Another studio, Raven Software, you know, who did wonderful games like Wolfenstein 09 and Singularity. I think it was in maybe 2010, I think, or later in 09. I'm not sure, but it came afterwards. Wonderful games, incredible, innovative, very unique. first-person shooters, and they were just shit on. Everyone just dumped on them, and so now Raven Software is a shadow of its former self. Like I said, relegated to doing maps for Call of Duty games, and it's just. I was looking at the new Call of Duty Ghost, and I saw the little Raven Software thing, the logo on it, and I go, what a tragedy. It was such a great studio gone because it just didn't get the glowing reviews. Because of, in my opinion, the jaded gamers and jaded game reviewers and critics that couldn't resist putting it down. They got a little joy out of taking a shot at it. I've had my art has been criticized. I mentioned this in one of my old rants. You have to take a critique as an artist. And it's tough, no matter how good you think you are. There's people who blow you out of the water. So you go to an art show or whatever, you're an eye-opener. There's a good range. And I know my art is not the greatest, but I like it. I have my own style, my own way of doing it. I kind of came up with my own concept, these cut-out car paintings or whatever. And they're semi-photorealism, but if you look close at it, there's a lot of impressionistic, kind of stylized ways that I break everything down. And it looks interesting. It's done in a kind of a different manner. It's just my own thing. But some people will see that, I don't like that at all. I don't care for that. This I like over here. So, or you have to have an artist has to be popular. If it's a popular artist, well then, naturally, that's so-and-so. Everything he does is magic. So, and I've had some hateful comments made about my art or whatever. And that's fine. I mean, it comes with the territory. I had a friend of mine that told me, you could see he was kind of getting me one day, another artist. And he was a good automotive artist. He was one of my, kind of a mentor. He goes, Dean, don't let it get you down. He said, no one has ever erected a statue to a critic. And I thought about that. I go, he's absolutely right. No one really has erected a statue to a critic. I mean, no one holds critics in high regards. Now, I love like Siskel and Ebert at the movies years ago in the 70s and the 80s. I love movie reviews. And they would tend to be very critical of a lot of films that I liked. But overall, I think that their reviews were fair. I still enjoy going back and watching a lot of their old retro reviews of classics of mine. And you see there's a lot of, a lot more film reviewers now, and you'll see a lot of films just get crapped on. I mean, they hold them in just low regard. Even the last Indiana Jones film, a lot of people hated it. I thought it was okay. It wasn't bad. Yeah, I would have liked to have seen some other stuff in it, or maybe go in a different direction, but it was well done and in keeping with the series. The Alien Resurrection, the fourth Alien film. And even Prometheus, my God, the negative. And I think a lot of that was expectation. People had expected another Alien thing. It took place in the Alien universe, and Ridley Scott made it clear, look, it's removed. It's not the same thing. But people, they just insisted on crapping on it and shooting it down because it didn't meet their template of what, a Ridley Scott Alien film should be or whatever. So this is the world we live in. This is my frustration with the internet today. And of course, you have so many game reviewers, so many film reviewers now, and so many, you have professional ones, you get small guys doing it out of their home like I am with a little camera. And so it's a full range of reviews. And again, I do appreciate all of them. Right or wrong, good or bad, I like to see it all because I'm fascinated with games. And I try to see it through the lenses and the eyes of what does that guy see in the game? Why does he have it out for that game? And sometimes it'll be political reasons, or they have something against Capcom. They don't like Capcom. So it's easy to crap on Resident Evil 6. And that's a good example. I mean, you get over 600 artisans and technicians working on Resident Evil 6. Now I like Resident Evil 1 and 2. I never played any of the other ones. My nephew loves Resident Evil 4 and 5. He's a fanatic. He'll put them on the hardest level and just invest tremendous amount of time in it. He loves it. He's tried to get me to play, I think, Resident Evil 4. And we played it for about 3 or 4 hours one day at his place. And it just wasn't my idea. It was very well done, big epic set piece, lots of action. But it just wasn't my idea of a zombie game. Or what I like wasn't in keeping with the original, though it scared me about, Resident Evil 1 on PlayStation 1. That was terrifying. I'd like to see a reboot of that, by the way. But this is a dynamic that just goes on and on. It's endless with negative reviews. And unfortunately, it affects the bottom line of the games. If the game companies... so you get like two sides of the equation. Everyone's complaining, we're sick of it. Gears, 17. Gears of War 17. We don't want another Halo, 10. Oh, God, another Uncharted. I mean, you get a lot of people, they already don't want to see another Last of Us, and you can't blame them. It's a unique game. It stands alone. It doesn't. Not every game needs a remake or needs a reboot. It's nice when they can do that. If they're done right, I'm open-minded to it. I see why they do it. But what's happened is, thanks to all of these wonderful game reviewers who have affected the bottom line and the sales, and you'll see it. Like when I first got Aliens Colonial Marines, that very first night, I got the special box set. I got it the minute the store opened. I went home, did an unboxing video. Well, I went on that night. People in Australia had got it a little bit early. I saw 3 glowing reviews where fans loved the game. I go, oh man, this is going to be great. So I was pumped. Within 24 hours, a couple big game reviewers shit on that game, and then it was fashionable to bag on the game and shoot it down. And you saw a barrage of hate to where, I mean, even I've had to delete several comments on my Aliens Colonial Marines review. I think there's 1 or 2 negative ones on there. Now, if they're reasonable, I'll leave it. But if it's over the line and they become insulting, what are you, a fucking idiot? This game sucks, and they go right, here we go, right down the line with what they've been programmed. Some of them have never even played the game. They just immediately, oh, this game sucks. And these are, a lot of them are kids, let's face it. They're like little kids who just, they love to troll. They have no moral compass. They have no value system really whatsoever. You have to wonder what kind of adults are going to, evolve into at some point. But that's for another rant. But and it's sad. So but you'll have other people that are rational that will see, well, Dean makes some good points. I still was disappointed with the game, and I was too. There are things in it graphically. The game was in development hell for a decade, from like 3 different studios, 3 or 4 different development studios. I mean, it changed hands like Duke Nukem Forever. It's a disaster. So I went into it knowing it's not going to be perfect. Gearbox had done a lot of marketing and ads and get everyone all worked up over it. And I remember Angry Joe and different people go, if I could just keep one person from buying Aliens Colonial Marines, I've done my job. And I'm like, oh, well, that's nice for you, Joe. And I like Angry Joe, don't get me wrong. I get a big kick out of, I'll sit through his longest rants, and they're very comedic. Even, it shows him urinating on a copy of Duke Nukem Forever, which I think is a great game. But he shot that down like and I'm a big Duke fan. Oh, sure you are. Well, if you're a really big fan, then you would have probably saw it through a different set of lenses than I saw it through, Joe, as I was there from the beginning and played all of these early Duke games. So, and because I'm an old caveman, I'm more in sync with the humor and a lot of what they were going after with that game. And that game was in development hell. So this is the problem. See, they get, so Angry Joe does it, and maybe he just triggered 30 or 40,000 people to hating that game. You know that's going to affect the bottom line of sales? Of course it will. And this is why I did my game reviews, to try to counter the negativity and the hate towards games. Just to be rational. I'll still point out the flaws with them. But you can still, the bottom line, like Mark Bussler, Classic Game Room, he doesn't give them a number score. Occasionally he'll say, oh, this game is kind of god-awful. It's tough because of this or that. But he'll at least try to have fun with it. He'll show you why he likes a game. Or he'll say, I like this game. It's a lot of fun. Well, Mark Bussler reviewed Lost Planet 3 and was having a blast. And he goes, look, if you like Colonial Marines, this is the game Colonial Marines should have been. It's a great game. Based on that alone, I've smoked the tires of my Hemming truck down to my GameStop and got it in the guide because I put a lot of value on Mark's opinion. We don't share eye to eye with all the Japanese RPGs and stuff. There's certain games and genres he likes that I'm not a big fan of, but I respect Mark's opinion, especially as one of the good guys out there, the positive reviewers. I don't have a Pollyanna attitude. Every game is wonderful and perfect and all that. But I think that I would like to see a little bit less criticism. I think that that's part of it. The other part of it is the internet, is that because there are so many game reviewers and before the game even comes out, you've seen everything on it. To death. We never had that in the old days. Like I said, you go in there and you had to look at 2 games, and you had to make a decision, and all you had was the box art and a description on the back, and you're looking, well, it has cars. Oh, it's racing. Okay, cool. Well, that alone, I usually would buy it. Anything with cars, and I'd buy it. Sometimes a third of those games would be terrible. Controls are off or whatever. And you just spent a lot of money. Like I said, games have never been cheaper in comparison to the ratio with inflation to what they were back in the 80s and early 90s. but you just have to make a choice. And sometimes you'd make the wrong one. But that kind of made its magic, like buying a lotto ticket or rolling the dice in a craps table. I mean, you really felt invested in the whole process of buying a game. So you were determined to get your money's worth out of it, because there was no trade-in policy, nothing you could do about it. So in that respect, it's a great age we live in. You can go on, you can see all the reviews, you can see everything about it. You can find wonderful retro games and consoles and accessories and peripherals. Everything you want, it's available, and it's a beautiful thing. I love that about the internet. I try never to take that for granted. I always remember back to a time where we didn't have that. Even the facts and the walkthroughs and the gameplay videos and the Let's Plays. I mean, we live in a wonderful cornucopia of just vast information. You can see everything to death. So it's like there's no risk in it. It almost makes it like nothing. Sometimes I go out and buy a game, and like Lost Planet 3, I haven't even played it yet. But it just, because I got so inspired from Mark's review, and he made it look so fun, I went out and got it, and I know I'm going to enjoy this. I know, I've already looked through the strategy guide, seen some of the monsters and the battles and weapons, and the setting of it looks really atmospheric and stuff. I like that. You know, this new, I went right off and pre-ordered and paid them off months before my PS4 ever came out. I got, pre-ordered Killzone, Shadowfall, and Battlefield 4. Now, of course, Battlefield 4, most people, probably 75% and or more, maybe even 90% buy this just for the multiplayer. I'm blown away with the single player. I'm never going to play the multiplayer in this. This game, the campaign got crapped on. Everyone's like, meh, it was okay. It's alright. Just like Battlefield 3, a little different. And I'm like, I'm playing it, I'm like, do these guys play the same Battlefield 4 campaign that I did? My mouth was hanging open. I just couldn't believe the graphics, the level design, the solid shooting, and just all the chaos going on around you. This was insane. Now, I haven't played Killzone Shadowfall. It is installed in my hard drive on my PlayStation 4. This game has gotten terrible reviews. Terrible mixed reviews. But one of my good friends, friend Kirk, back east on the East Coast, he's a big PlayStation fan. He played this and said it was one of the finest experiences he's played in FPS in a long time. And I put a lot of stock in what he says. So I'm inclined to believe this is a good game. Everyone else, oh, it was okay. I was bored. I was bored with it, Well, that to me is defining of the gamer that plays that game. More, frankly, more than the game itself. Because when I hear other people that are digging it and enjoying it, the graphics certainly look impressive. I know there's more to a game than just graphics. I understand that. I'm sorry if you're bored with FPS games. I'm sorry if you've had you basically have gluttonized on them for so long that you can't see the forest for the trees and appreciate them. Maybe it's because I'm so far behind the scenes, or perhaps as a imaginative character, I'm able to see more of the fun in the game. I rely heavily on my imagination. I get into it. I get excited about every film that I watch, even the bad ones, even the B movies. It's like there's a movie called Death Proof. Kurt Russell, all these cheesy Quentin Tarantino productions. It's kind of a cheesy film and kind of a low-budget film in many ways, but it's a great film. Or, many of the other old classic Roger Corman films of the 70s, Death Race 2000, stuff like that. I mentioned this in one of my old rants. These are dated, old cheesy B films, low-budget films, but you can have a blast. I've watched them repeatedly and bought them on VHS and DVD and rebought them on Blu-ray because they're great entertainment. It's great fun. There's a brand new game out, I think it's coming out any time now, called Rambo, the Rambo trilogy or something. And I had some friends that, they're younger, and they don't understand what's the big deal with Rambo, He had to be there, I guess, back in the 80s. America had a healthy self-esteem, everything was a cigarette and a giant, M60 machine gun. And it's one of those kind of, those over-the-top, like Commando and Predator. It's just one of those really well-done, very popular series. Start with the first one, First Blood. Watch that first, and then you can watch the other ones. You can buy a box set for cheap use, again, via the wonderful internet, so cheap. And you'll see what a great, I haven't watched them in years. Now, I have the whole box set on VHS. It's one of those things that I can't believe that, and like Lethal Weapon, I still haven't bought on DVD yet or Blu-ray, because I've seen them so many times. It's one of those things I'll have to go down to my, store down here and buy those pretty soon here. But Rambo's a fun movie. You know, I see it for what it is. Looking back on it, it brings back the nostalgia of the 80s. And I can remember sitting in the theater repeatedly, going back to the theater the next Friday night, rewatching it until finally they pulled it out of the theaters. It's quite often I go to the movies 3-5 times in the same movie over and over and pay full price. I loved it. And Rambo is one of those series. So when they come out with this new Rambo video game, it's over the top. It's just excessive, in your face, just thousands of rounds being sprayed everywhere, explosions, knifing, pulling guys off cliffs. I mean, it looks as cartoony, frankly, as the movies were themselves. So it's like right up my alley, kind of like Duke Nukem Forever, because I'm in sync with that mindset. Like, oh, thank God, this will be a gem. That game I would probably pay $100 for. I don't care if it looks like an old PlayStation 2 or regular Xbox game. That will be one of those wonderful guilty pleasures. I'm determined to find the fun in that game. And you better believe I will. I'm going to definitely get that Rambo game. Like I said, I'm trying to not buy games for a little bit. I'm dying to get this Tomb Raider Definitive Edition as well for my PlayStation 4. It's going to look fantastic. I love that game. I'm dying to replay it. But I'm trying to hold off for a little while until I get some work is picked back up. I got a river of money coming through, and my wife is happy. Then I'll go on my gaming hunt. I'm going to pick up Thief, and I've already pre-ordered the new Mad Max game. And in fact, I need to go down. I'll pre-order that Rambo game. And I'll probably get that soon. It might even be discounted. Maybe it won't be a full $60 price, but it looks perfect. I can't wait. And I'd pay even more than full retail on that one because it looks like my kind of game. It's perfect for cavemen like me. So I'm excited about the new Rambo game. But I guarantee you, I predict, you watch, that game will come out and everyone's going to squat and take a dump on that game. And it will become fashionable to shit on Rambo. And that'll hurt the sales, and we'll see that studio go by the wayside. You watch, you mark my words. So it'll be interesting to see how that gets received down the road. But again, not all games are AAA games. Not all games have all the money in the studios. I know if Terminal Reality had a little bit more time and money, that Walking Dead Survival Instinct could have been a good game. I'm quite sure of it. But I see through all that. I'm able to see it in its proper perspective and say, okay, obviously it's a lesser studio. I've played their other lesser games, and they're fun. I can still have fun with it. I can still be immersed and have a good time. I don't have to shit on the game in a review to try to get views and ratings. And you'll see that with a lot of these other shows. I don't like to call people out, but a lot of shows, it's almost entertainment, and it's like they like to be the negative, and lots of swearing, and going over the top to let people know how shitty the game is. I mean, that Ride to Hell Retribution was a pretty bad game. I actually watched over 2 hours of live gameplay of that with Jeff Gertzman and poor Ryan Davis. I really felt bad for him, and that was his last game that he played and did a walkthrough with. Or a playthrough, just the first couple hours of it. I was glued to it for 2 hours. The game was so bad, I was on the fence of getting it. I said, I may just get this game because it's like in the so bad it's good category, but it does have some really broken gameplay mechanics that I could see after watching 2 hours of gameplay, so I passed on that one. Kind of like the Star Trek game, unfortunately, which I actually would like to play it all the way through, but I had some severe bugs that just raped the joy right out of that game for me, of a franchise that I loved, and I would have loved to have enjoyed that game. So I'll never get rid of the Star Trek game. Someday maybe I'll play it, but and I didn't review that game because of that. I didn't play it all the way through. I didn't even give it first impressions. I just said, I felt bad enough. I'll just leave it alone. It's got enough hate as it is. So, and that's what I tend to do. I don't. I'll defend XCOM Declassified good games, and I feel are good games, in spite of the jaded reviews of them, and I'll defend them. I'll go out of my way, Aliens, Colonial Marines. You better believe it. Walking Dead, Survival Instinct. Oh yeah. And I'll review the Tomb Raiders and the other good ones and GTA 5s and well-received games I like as well. But it's sad to see this age we live in. So again, we got all of this, with the internet and with the reviews. I mean, I've got like 108 subscriptions I subscribe to now. I'm adding more all the time because I have some friends that are subscribing to me, and I think they've got way better channels than mine. I'm like, So I subscribe to them, and I'm trying to stay on top of their videos and try to stay on top of, even 2/3 of 100 odd channels. It can be work at times. That's why I validate that not everyone's going to be able to invest the time to watch all my videos. A lot of them are long-winded, but I feel they're rants that I want to say. I'm hoping that someone will get something out of what I'm saying, and that's why I do them. That's my motivation or my impetus for doing my show. Is I want it to resonate, so that a few people out there, like-minded people like me, that maybe appreciate the wonderful hobby of games, retro or new, or just being a gamer or a collector. I like that. I like the Dean. He has a positive attitude towards the games or towards gaming, and hopefully it'll jive with certain people, and they'll like that. So the internet, it makes everything to the point where you can see everything to death. There's almost no risk in it, and that kind of takes the magic away. It's like when you see all the behind-the-scenes commentaries, or those, I'll get Blu-rays, and they have all the hours of even Star Wars behind the scenes, how they did the special effects, how they shot everything, showing them filming and doing outtakes and stuff. If you feed on a lot of it, it almost kind of takes the magic away of the movie itself. It almost takes you out of the immersion. I find it's a similar dynamic with gaming, because we watch so many podcasts and previews and reviews that we can easily become numb to these wonderful experiences that are coming out. I mean, even BioShock Infinite, God, I had seen probably a dozen or more glowing reviews of it. And then, of course, it would become fashionable to kind of be a hipster and then bag on that game. And I got to enjoy another wave of that on the internet. Fascinating. But because I saw so much on it, it was just talked it out. I think maybe that even contributed to my malaise of how I felt about the game and stopped playing it. I actually jumped off from that game to get on something else to review it, if I remember right. And I meant to go back to it, but just never did. Because everyone had just done 1,000 or more reviews of it and impressions videos on it. And I did an unboxing of the special edition of it early on. It's another game I got to get back to and finish. So that one and Far Cry 3 and Hitman Absolution were games that I had gone through and I just hadn't finished them. I need to go back this year, and that's my goal, is to go back and finish a lot of these masterpieces that are so well received, so I can see what everyone dug about the game or didn't like about it or what have you. So that's what the internet does right. It gives you everything, but I think that the flip side is that it can numb us to where you feel nothing, to where you don't have that magic anymore. I think you have to. The older gamers, I think, will understand probably where I'm coming from, because you remember back when you didn't have it. All you had was a gaming magazine, if you even had that. I'm envious of a lot of my friends that grew up with all of these, Nintendo Power magazines and a lot of the older gaming magazines. I didn't have all those, and had very little. I saw those maybe 3 or 4 times a year. So, and even then, I would devour them when I was in a bookstore. But I never subscribed to any. I never had the money to buy them when I was younger or whatever. So I didn't really know what was going on with games. I would just see TV commercials for the new Panasonic 3DO or the new PlayStation back in '95. I go, man, it looks great. Look at this killer game. And I get excited watching, a commercial for Twisted Metal or something. I go, I'm going to buy that one. That looks great. So that was like the magic in it. Even when GTA 3 came out, I didn't know anything about the Grand Theft Auto series. I knew nothing about Rockstar games. And I looked at it, well, it's an interesting cover. I like the artwork on it and everything. And reading the back, it has cars, Grand Theft Auto. It's probably about stealing cars. And that's all I knew. I didn't know it'd be a great game or anything. And that was like the magic in it. And when I played that game, and at first I didn't like it because it didn't meet what I thought it was. And I went to take it back, they wouldn't give me my money back. Back then, you were stuck with no trade-in program. So, I was to go home, make the best of it. I went home, and then once I played a couple hours and then saw all the unique dynamics to the open world game, and listen to the people talking on the street corners and the hookers, and look at this, you can do sniping and lob grenades, you can approach things from different ways, and wow, it's kind of open world. I'd never really seen an open world other than the driver game, so it was very cool. But today, when the new GTA 5 came out, I saw gameplay of it even before it was legally supposed to be out. It wasn't even, those channels got shut down or whatever. They had some strikes on it because of that. But believe me, it didn't keep me from watching. I saw lots of live streams before it was even available. I had already seen footage. I had already seen tons of screenshots, and I knew it was going to be good. I wasn't sure how the 3, protagonists, going between the characters would be. But overall, I saw 80% of what the game represented and what I knew it was, and it didn't disappoint. So that's my little rant on this. It's just something I wanted to do. My thing is that never lose sight of the positive side of games, no matter what they are. Don't listen to all the jaded gamers out there. Don't listen to the meh. Oh, it was meh. It was all right. It's okay. I never traded. I just thought it was boring. I mean, try to enjoy the games and savor them because they really are great. Not everyone's going to like every single game. Not everyone's going to appreciate every genre. But just make the most of it and give games a chance. Don't be so quick, so quick to shoot them down or to frankly dismiss them. Well, IGN and GameSpy, it's gotten really low. I hate the Metacritic thing. Nothing sets me off faster than that. Because people, it's all I care about is a number. Oh, the number's below this. No, I won't do it. Well, that's a shame. You're missing out on some really good experiences out there. Don't let the jaded gamers and the negative naysayers and the critics in life ruin a great hobby for you. I'm trying not to. I try to every day appreciate one day at a time, appreciate what I have, I have a lot of games I'm dying to get to that I've never played, but I bought them because I'm excited about playing them. I just saw someone post something on Silent Hill this morning. I've never played a Silent Hill game, but it looks like it's right up my alley. I can't wait to delve into that. That'll be something I'll probably pick up in the future as well. So, and I like going back and watching old retro reviews of the original Silent Hill and Silent Hill 2, all the different ones. But I try to read between the lines and I look for the fun in those games. I urge you to do the same thing. Appreciate the wonderful hobby we have, old or new. Just take everything with a grain of salt. Do your research for sure, but always appreciate the games for what they are and what they do right, because I believe all games are engineered to be fun. Unfortunately, some miss the mark, but most of them I find are really a good time. And that's what I live for. That's the highlight of my day, is diving into a new chapter, a new game, and enjoying it, whether it's well received or otherwise. So, thanks for watching, guys, and enjoy your games.